and hello to all of our listeners here. This is Yvette C. Owens at Into Soul Leadership, where we really get into the depth of what it takes to be a great leader. We all want to be our best, I hope. And in doing so, we have to be consciously aware and reinforcing in ourselves the skills as well as the behaviors and practices to do that. I am really excited about being joined here with my guest, Jamila Moore of I Am and More. She has become a dear friend and a sister over the last year. We've connected and just done some phenomenal work together. And so I am inviting you into this time with us as we talk about strategic visioning, how to communicate, how to reinforce the vision. And we're doing so at the appropriate time of the year when we're launching into a new year. And if we want to be this year a great year, we got to start with a plan and a strategy. So welcome, Jamila. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you. And why don't you tell the audience a little bit more about yourself and what you do at I Am and More?
Yes, so I Am and More is a full service agency where there is a business development side and then a legal side where I help people start, structure, and grow their businesses to great profits. And then on the legal side, I help them protect their business, their brand, their profits, their ideas, their visions through contracts, copyrights, and trademarks. There are millions in your mind, and it's my job to help you secure it and protect it.
That is so awesome. And as leaders, I often say, let's not just do business, but let's be business. And when we have to be business, there is a whole universe of things that are our responsibilities as leaders, as an organization or as a team or ministry or community group. It's a lot there. Not to scare people off, but if you've been tagged a leader or if you know you have that leadership in you, you might as well just strap on the boots and let's go. And it's great to connect with people like myself and Jamila who can help you get there and fulfill the full spectrum of what it calls to be a leader, not just that specific agenda that you've been either brought on for or that you signed up for. Maybe you're an entrepreneur. So when we talk about strategy, I just posted an article in LinkedIn on the newsletter, Into Soul Leadership newsletter, that vision, strategy, and implementation are not the same. They're not the same. And I wanted to remind people of that. So vision is what it is that you're called to do. But we want to talk today about strategy, right? Strategy is really like putting the nuts and bolts and the plans and stuff together on what it is that helps you fulfill that vision. Tell us more about how you see strategy in connection with vision.
Yeah, I think a vision without strategy just ends up in the grave. And I hate to come in and be so harsh with it, but that's the reality of what is happening when we do not have the right strategy behind a vision. And when we talk about strategy, what we are saying is not only are we trying to empower ourselves, but we are trying to empower the people that we lead to become different people, to cause that vision to come to fruition, to cause the people and ourselves to believe different, to cause the people and ourselves to do differently, right? To cause the people and ourselves to have different habits, because that is the only way that that vision will be attained.
Yeah, and that is so, so good. And the different behaviors is really critical for the leader because as we started out, there's a broad spectrum of responsibilities that the leader needs to make sure they either have oversight for or they're actually handling themselves. And when you're starting out new, you as a business developer know that you are coaching people in a lot of different areas that, did you check this? Do you know that? Do you know that? So can you give some people some perspectives of some of the things that people often forget about, but need to really have on their radar?
The two probably most important things that people forget about as they are leading others is the fact that you are leading a human that is with you for a finite amount of time, but they're bringing in other things. And so if you don't lean into actually building a relationship with that individual, then you won't be able to really connect with them in the way to really push them to that place of greatness and excellence to even execute the vision. I think the second piece is really fine tuning and finding out what are the drivers that cause your people to move, right? And rallying them around things that interest them so that they could see the big picture and be intrinsically invested in the outcome that everybody's driving towards. We don't want to have the right people on the bus with the wrong mindset. And how we lead, how we teach, how we, motivate, it is all about making sure that they're on the bus and they're on the bus in the right mindset.
That is so, so good. So you're saying it's more than just the products that we put out. It's more than just the profit. You're saying it's more than just the advertising budget and all those things that and the branding. You're saying that we actually have to have a strategy around the people we've invited on this journey with us? Come on. That's revolution thinking. That's revolutionary thinking. Wow. So how would communication we talked about too in the beginning. So talk to us more about how we sometimes approach communication, but we could do it a little bit differently to get a better impact.
Yeah, this is really important. I think when I was an assistant principal, we had to read this book called The 5 Dysfunctions of Team. And at the basic level, there has to be trust in order for the team to be functional. And so when you are communicating, you should be communicating with purpose and not only to be heard, which means to have an impact, but also make sure that whatever you're communicating, that the intent matches the impact. And then engaging as you are communicating, whether or not that intent is matching the impact. Because if it's not matching, that means it's not landing well, and there's an opportunity for miscommunication. If there is an opportunity for miscommunication, then there is an opportunity to build a lack of trust, which then causes the team to be dysfunctional at the basic level.
That's great. And so when you were talking, it brought up in my mind, we hear a lot, especially in social media where everybody's attention is today, right? Around influencers. But I don't know that as we define influencers from a social media perspective is what you're talking about. When we talk about making that impact, I think you're saying that there has to be, and you can elaborate and correct me if I'm wrong, that there has to be an actual connection when you're communicating with the people that you're leading. There has to be, you have to find a way to speak to what matters to them and what resonates to them. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. I think if we could understand this at the basic level, we are in the business of relationships. And a lot of times we don't think of it in that way. But even if we think about something as small as Apple selling a phone, they have built some sort of relationship with the customer that draws them into an experience. And so us as leaders, we're building relationships with the people that we lead to draw them into an experience. If we operate and own a business, we're building relationship with our clients and potential customers to bring them into an experience for transformation. And so as long as we remember that we are in the business of serving people, because a leader is the highest level of a servant, we will be rooted and grounded in really driving results in a different way that makes people actually want to learn, grow, and do the thing that you all are envisioning to do.
So how would you suggest that someone would build that relationship without losing themselves? Because we talk about authenticity a lot, right? So I have the vision that we all are now charged with. I know how I would operate and interact with that vision. Now you're saying I need to build a relationship with people on my team in order for all of us to be successful in this space that we've called together. How do I do that without losing myself in the process?
Yeah, I think one, if you know who you are and you know what your values are, you know how to be flexible with them. And it does not cost you anything to learn something about another person. And when you go in and you learn something about that person and you commit it to memory, whether you have to write it down or not, and you simply check in on the person, that's not causing you to lose yourself. Now, that may not be your default way of being. However, you have to make a conscious decision as someone who carries influence and is driving results, that you have to step outside of your comfort zone from time to time and be flexible in order to make sure that everyone is going to be able to move forward in the best way that works for them.
So I hear you saying we have to be open and flexible. How do I do that when there's something that the person across from me believes in or is committed to that is contrary or goes against the grain of something that I believe in, yet I still have to lead them. I still have to be respectful. How do I do that?
I think the best thing that a visionary and a leader can do is, one, always be mission driven. Two, have value pillars. Three, have non-negotiables. So if you are mission driven, you have your value pillars and you have non-negotiables, when you come to a place where there is a disconnect and there is a conflict, you bring it back to the mission, the values, and the non-negotiables. And we've all should have decided in the non-negotiables that mission first. And so I'm able to get over whatever difference you may have because I'm bringing it back to the mission. And you should be able to do the same. If you're not able to do the same, I need to reassess as to whether or not you are a person that should be on the bus.
That is so yummy. Yes. And so, but I'm supposed to build a relationship with those people too, right? And maybe our core values aren't totally aligned. So how do I do that? How am I open? How do I become more open to building a genuine relationship with someone that our core value might not totally align?
Yeah, I think it's finding some sort of common ground on where it is that you do have some interests that align. And I think sometimes we go to surface beliefs, but if we really dial down and go deeper and we go to the root, I'm pretty sure you'll find something that you believe in the same, which is around family, whether it's opportunities or the occupation, whether it's interest, whether it's something in life, there will be some moment where you can connect. I think about sometimes where I may go into a space where I am the only woman of color and no one else is having the experience that I'm having, but it doesn't mean that I cannot go and connect with them about summer camp with their children, right? And summer camp with their children, I don't have children yet, but if I take it as this is something that I haven't experienced, so let me go and learn, at least I'm open to learning rather than being closed off because I don't share that experience.
Yeah. And that's so good because it also brings to mind that I have to be conscious of where I might have some biases, and that's not allowing me to be open to, and even if it is not aligning with my core beliefs, but I need to really check and evaluate what's driving that, right? Is it truly something that's against my core beliefs, or is it a bias that I didn't recognize and now I need to face and be willing to address? And the way I'm willing to address it is to open and learn, right? I often reference I had teams of people who were coming over from India, right? And when we would sit in the team room and we would talk, they would ask me questions about what was happening in America. And it's oftentimes about the African American or the Black experience here, because they got certain sound bites through media and things like that. And so basically I gave them the free will to check and to see the validity of what they were saying. And oftentimes, when we just gave ourselves that space to explore each other, they were like, wow, you're not different than us. And this is how we approach life too, really. And so I think what you're saying is we need to open and learn. Even if I haven't had that experience, I want to know, what is it like? Tell me what it's like. And because the more information, the more I'm building up even my character in that space, right? And I'm able to connect because at least they know Yvette's willing to listen and hear and learn about my culture or learn about my lifestyle or learn about my family. Let's even not take it to the global thing. Just learn about me and my family, me and my husband and children, or me and my wife and 3 kids or whatever. So that is so good. Relationship building, we can't get away from it. It's important for sales, right? It's important to be able to build the vision and the strategy and implement it. It's just a part of who we are and a part of leadership and the strategy building. And so how have you approached strategy, especially being creative and being innovative in building your business and or other positions that you've had? Because strategy really has a close link to being creative, I think.
Yeah, I think when I sit down and I really fine tune the outcome, for me, I'm a woman of faith. And so I'm probably going to pray and ask for some support from my Heavenly Father and kind of just really think through systems, think through how and what needs to be said, how and what needs to be done in order for the impact to come into place, and then to actually build out the steps. And I think something that's important here is that when you actually document the strategy and you put the plan into place, where it is some type of checklist or some type of guide, you're able to then study the data of the outcome and know how to go back and revise and then use that as your next level strategy. And so it's this dance that I do of building in the now, but also building for the future so that I'm not creating more work and I'm being more effective and efficient.
Yeah. So when you talk about measuring and monitoring, it kind of you're doing it in this cycle, iterative process. I don't even know if I'm successful with this current strategy if I don't monitor and measure the desired outcomes, which means when I come up with the strategy, I have to know what are my desired outcomes, right? I have to know what do I expect, not only in all areas, from the behavior changes, like you mentioned on the onset of this conversation, to sales, revenue generation, market penetration. All those things have to be measured and monitored to understand, am I on track? Where do I need to adjust? And what you bring up is powerful. What do we do next? Because we come up with a strategy, we work it, implementation is something else. But then the next question is, what's next? And it's great to know what could potentially be next while you're working a current strategy, because then that might influence how you do the current strategy. What are your thoughts around that?
No, I think that you are spot on. And I think sometimes we can be laser focused in the moment and we don't have that balance of now and later. And it's the balance of now and later that really helps us to be at a place where we are leading with greater impact. And I think sometimes when we miss that step and we just get locked in the now, we might skip some steps or we might miss some things that could have been impactful for us. And I think that's where these relationships come into play, because just because I may be the head person, it does not mean that I don't want to hear your opinion. I don't want to hear your insight on what could be for this strategy. And I remember as a leader, I would present the plan and say, hey, let's poke holes in the plan. After we've poked holes in the plan, let's figure out where things are probably going to go really right and what areas do we need to strengthen. Where can I assign you to take some ownership over this? Because I will say this, like sometimes we think about, the work ethic of people, but people work harder for people to
come on, that part.
And so if you don't have that relational equity and you aren't building the business, the department, the whatever up in that way, you're not going to get optimal work from your people. Right.
So good. So I want to touch on one more thing before we wrap up. And that is, and I need to do this because I teach people the agile change leadership principles, right? So in strategy, we're really talking about if I'm getting ready to embark upon a strategy, there's elements of what I'm doing that need to change. How would you encourage someone to really think about and balance what's already in play with what the new strategy might be bringing forward, or the strategy that might be an add-on to something else, right? How would you encourage someone to balance those two? Because we can't stop. You have to stop, can't stop what's on the production line, right? Or the services that you're providing, not all of them anyway. And some of them may be warranted to be changed or stopped because of the new strategy. But how would you encourage people to balance those?
Yeah, I think that we have to understand that leadership is a cycle if we're doing it well. And so while we are in the middle of a place of dealing with what used to work, also have to be latching on to what is going to work in the future and innovation. And we see where businesses have not been agile and then they become blockbuster. Right? If Blockbuster had latched on to the innovation of the future, maybe we would see Blockbuster streaming. Right. We think about how some cell phones didn't want to evolve and they wanted to keep the buttons on there, if you wait until it's too late, it's too late. And so while we are in the now, we have to proactively go after the future and study what may be coming down the pipeline so that we're not blindsided and then stomped at where we are.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I'm so glad you joined me today. I really, really am. I always enjoy speaking with you. Tell the folks more about what you're doing and what you would like them to know about what's coming next for you, how they can follow you. We'll put all this information in the show notes, but I want them to hear it from you, the master.
Yeah, I thank you for that. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with your audience and serve your people and your vision and mission. I will say, if you are in a space where you are in any type of leadership role, you have to understand your level of influence and power. And so what that means is you also need to have a legal mindset on what it is that you're really endeavoring to do and how you have to go about protecting the assets that you give on a day-to-day basis. So every time you come up with that idea, is that $1 million idea for you, or is it $1 million idea for X, Y, and Z? And if it is, how do you protect that and how do you leverage that, one, to be a value add where you are, but also to bring value into your own life and leave a legacy for your generations that will come after you? Even just thinking about contract negotiation and how sometimes we just settle for what we see and we don't even know what we see, what it means. And so I'm the person that you come to for those types of things. And I think for those people that are like, I'm going to be a corporate hero and I am going to do consulting on the side. I am going to coach people on the side. Hey, I help you with that too, where it really is about starting and structuring your business the right way and then legally protecting it. Because the biggest mistake that I see a lot of new business owners make is that they go out there with their ideas and they have no security and protection. So it's only a matter of time before they hit a wall where, it may come crumbling down because of what they didn't do in the beginning. And I'm just here to stop them and say, hey, I want to support you. I want to walk alongside you as you move forward with building greatness, wealth, and impacting more people.
And where can they find you?
You can find me at iamandmore.com. So it's iamandmore.com, where you can just register for a free discovery call. There are downloads for you, and you can sign up for my weekly newsletter. Like, I am all about building the whole entrepreneur. So I'm not just going to talk to you about money. I'm not just going to talk to you about the law. I'm going to talk to you about becoming the best version of you and being a fearless entrepreneur, because it takes us letting go and abandoning our comfort zone and what we knew to latch on to what is next and what's ours.
And I'm going to let everybody on this who's going to watch this now and forevermore that I am not just a friend and a sister, but I am a client. And I liken it to, I've talked to entrepreneurs from the leadership perspective. And I said, hey, do you have insurance? Is your business registered? And all those kind of things. And a lot of people want to put that off because of the cost. And I'm telling you, you cannot afford, if you're building something for your legacy, if you're building something because you really have a heart in this, you must protect it. And so I've referred other people to Jamila, and I've used her for many things that I've done. So I'm telling you, you cannot not afford not to do this. You can't. And so please, please, please reach out to her. Let her guide you as you're building the empire, the conglomerate that you're building. Let her, at least a firm foundation with the right cornerstone, will take you far higher with a solid structure than if you just whimsily say, oh, I'm out here doing this and not know how to go forward. That's why our partnership is so good. So as you're leading, I'm here to help you lead your team and your people, but you gotta have a firm foundation on which to have a team and to build. And I'm telling you, this woman sitting across from me is the person for you. So thank you so much for joining me. May you have many, many more blessings in all that you do, because I know you are one that serves from an inter-soul leadership perspective with your whole heart. So you are like so compatible and so great to be a part of this community. So we really, really thank you for being here. Any last words for the audience?
One, I want to say thank you for having me. And the other thing that you mentioned that I want to say is, why would we build something broken? And so many times when we decide that we can't afford, or we operate with the lies of limiting belief, we're deciding to build something broken, understanding that one day it may come crushing down because I started broken. Whereas if you operate with a mindset of abundance, that I have everything that I need, I just need to become aware of it, and I need to make the right decisions, because I cannot afford to have what I'm building break one day.
That's right.
And I not have a way to fix it.
That's right.
So,
and you don't want to be blindsided by it, right? So check out imandmore.com, because Jamila's going to take care of you. Take care of you. Thank you all for joining again. I encourage you to join us next week, even as we continue this conversation around inter-soul leadership, really what it means to really lead with the best of yourself as you discover it. We're all discovering it, but as long as you're on that journey, you will never go wrong. Have a great day, everyone.